A 21-year-old woman is accused of setting the police union building on fire. According to the Multnomah County DA, an officer saw Sophia Page Culsta Watkins set wooden boards on fire that lined the outside of the building last night. After she was arrested, police found a lighter and spray paint in her belongings. Culsta Watkins is charged with arson in the first degree. And a man from Vermont is now facing civil disorder charge, that is, stemming from a protest in Portland. U.S. Attorney Billy J. Williams says that 24-year-old Charles Comfort repeatedly charged at police while holding a shield. This happened back in June during a protest in Northeast Portland. Comfort pleaded not guilty in court today.
The president is, since his nominating convention, really pushing harder on the law and order message.
We see the immediate impacts of protests on a nightly basis here, but what about the longer term impact? Will they affect the presidential election, and who will they benefit more? KATU's Lincoln Graves live in the newsroom with this story. And Lincoln, we've examined this before. Has there been a shift at all?
Well, Steve, the decision on charges in the Breonna Taylor case has given new energy to the protest movement nationwide. At the same time, overall support of the protests has declined across the country, with the majority of Americans now disapproving. But there's still no sign that that is affecting the presidential race.
Sociologists have compared our current protest movement to 1968. Protests during the Civil Rights Movement led candidate Richard Nixon to a law and order campaign message.
And it was fairly effective for Richard Nixon in 1968. I mean, they really moved a lot of people from the D category to the R category around those racial fears.
Nixon was elected. Now President Trump is trying to do the same thing with 2020 protests, some of which have been marked by violence, looting, arson, and vandalism. But America's demographics have changed quite a bit.
Those same calls to racial fears that might have worked for Nixon in 1968 don't have the same appeal, but they do have some.
Whether it's enough remains to be seen. KATU's political analyst Jim Moore says there's no evidence decreased support for protests equals more support for Trump.
Support for the protests has been going down over the past 3 months. It hit a peak of about 54%. It's gone down. It's now at about 44%. And during that time, we haven't really seen the opinion polls on the presidential race move at all.
Jim Moore also says it is a bit too soon to tell if the latest flashpoint, the decision on the charges in the Breonna Taylor case, moves things at all. Polls from next week would likely include that data. Live in the newsroom, Lincoln Graves, KATU News.